Good day. My name is Justin Pineda, and for today, we'll be talking about keeping it private, protecting your digital rights. So, we have four discussion points for this session. We have information security and privacy. The second is keeping it private for people. Now, the second would be process, and then technology. All right. So, we start with information security and privacy. So, as most of the subscribers and viewers of our lecture series are IT professionals, IT students, you are well aware of ways or methods on how to secure our data. Okay, so how do we protect our laptops, smartphones? So we put um, complex password. We have our antivirus enabled or installed. We have our MFA, and then we constantly um, update our systems. No? And we also know the defense in depth, the concept we're in. We need to have multiple layers of defense so that when a layer falls, there's another layer that can protect us. So in this particular case, we have perimeter security, network, endpoint, application security, and data security. We have policy management and operations, and it would depend on the type of reference that you're using. It may have more layers, but the concept is there has to be multiple layers of defense, right? So when we talk about information security, we always see this, the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So again, confidentiality is protection from unauthorized disclosure. The second is integrity, protection of resources from modification, ensuring that the message is accurate and correct. And the last is available, which is protection from denial of service. Okay, so that's InfoSec. Now let's go to privacy. When we talk about privacy, um, in general, it's a subjective phenomenon because, according to our definition here, it is shaped by several factors such as cultural norms or geographical location. And as an example, if you would see here, the first picture would be an onsen in Japan. So um, privacy here is said to be subjective in a sense because um, in Japan you can use the onsen together. Right? People are naked, of course, um, segregating it based on genders. But in other countries, that's an invasion of privacy. So, but for them, it is acceptable. So it has something to do with geographical and cultural norms, right? In the Philippines, uh, for example, it's normal for people to be over friendly with strangers or even acquaintances, people you just met in the airport, okay, asking very personal questions. That for Filipinos is considered normal, but for other people, they will consider it as an invasion of privacy, or very intrusive, in short. And so that's um, uh, the example here. Now, um, a definition, a more formal definition of privacy, which we may agree on, would be any information that an individual wants to protect from becoming a public knowledge. Obviously, I don't want others to know about this information that I have because I own it. That's privacy. And according to Westy 1967, it is the right of the individual to determine when, how, and to what extent there should be disclosure of the information. Okay, so that's very straightforward. That's very straightforward. Okay. Now, Data privacy and information security have different objectives. Okay, so InfoSec focuses on the organization's information, okay, or the competitive advantage of the organization, which might include, intellectual capital, um, all the patents, copyrighted materials, and so on. Okay. On the other hand, privacy focuses on personal information. Data subject here um, talks about or refers to the people whose information are being collected. So these data subjects' right to privacy. Okay. So typically, organizations protect information to uphold information security. Um, so both of them, they may have different objectives, but they are integrated. So we talk about infosec based on um, we talk about the CIA triad and related to infosec. Okay, so privacy can be guaranteed without identifying, implementing, and monitoring proper infosec measures. So if we have these um, security measures in place, okay, then it is already helping um, helping protect personal information also. Um, so we have here infosec and data privacy. Um, so and another focus here, another important emphasis would be the data life cycle, right? Because here it's talking about collect, use, process, store, share, retain, and dispose data. So we have to be able to protect the entire cycle, right? Okay, so we protect the personal data. That's the overlap. Now let's go to the so we divided it into people, process, and technology, keeping it private. Okay, so we start with people. So we go to the philosophical viewpoints on privacy by Ebenger 2004. So he outlined different philosophical viewpoints, which we discuss in a separate um, video. But for today, we'll focus on two philosophical viewpoints. The first one is privacy as control over information, and the second would be privacy as stored. Although in the privacy as stored, there are four sub bullets here. So we have intrusion upon solitude or seclusion or into private affairs. The second is public disclosure of embarrassing facts. The third is publicity in the false light in the public eye. And the last is appropriation of name of likeness for advantage. So let's just choose two, no, to understand the how to protect the people here, no, or in the perspective of people. So this is very straightforward. No? So privacy as control over information. It says here that information should not be disclosed to a third party without the authorization of the information owner. This is very straightforward. So if I own the information, okay, it cannot be disclosed. It cannot be shared without my permission. That's basically it. It stipulates that only the information owner makes the decision about the disclosure of the information. It has to be clear who is the owner. And once you know the owner, you need to be able to identify whether there is a authorization, no, or permission or consent that the information can be shared or accessed. Now, a very good example here, a very good case here would be, okay, so the case here, Resto staff shares customer IDs to group chat and spread in social media. So here, this particular news appeared during the peak of the pandemic in June 2020. okay, where uh, people were stuck in the at home, using Grab and other apps, or going to drive through, or getting their takeouts. Now, for this particular case, there was a driver, the driver of these six people, um, um, with their ID shown here, no, went to this restaurant and was asking for a discount for all of these six people. So PWD is a persons with disabilities card. So you will get a discount for it. So the crew um, didn't know what to do. So he or she took the photo of the IDs and sent it to the messaging app, probably to consult and get information. Unfortunately, it was reshared to different platforms, and eventually um, it went viral. So um, yeah, and later on, it was found out that these IDs were fake. So, but you have to take it in two separate cases. The first one is the privacy violation case, and the second would be the the use, or the use of a fraudulent ID, right? But because of what happened, it became viral, and the personal information of these people were publicized: the address, names, social networking accounts, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there. The second here would be the um, privacy as tort. No? So there are different um, sub bullets here. All right. So the first one would be intrusion upon solitude or seclusion or into private affairs. Okay. So what does it mean? It's considered a liability if the intrusion is not acceptable to a reasonable person. So in I think even in security, there's a rule called prudent man rule, wherein there is an invisible person who is responsible, that will be asked whether or not he will do the same thing. And if it is unreasonable, the action is unreasonable, then the prudent man will not do it. In short, so that's why we're using the term reasonable person. Okay, although prudent means responsible, reasonable, responsible person. So the first example here would be interception of phone messages, and maybe through a sniffer. Okay, um, right, using a public Wi-Fi. Now, what we're saying here in this particular viewpoint is that even if there is no policy, if there is no law, there is no guidelines provided. If it's not reasonable to do, then you should not do it. Most probably, you are invading the person's privacy. In the second example, someone uses very powerful binoculars. In this particular case, if it's very powerful, you might see people from very far away. Okay, very at the 80th floor of a building, and see what they're doing. That's another um, invasion of privacy, even if there is no law or policy about the usage and the usage of these binoculars. You should still not do it, because it's not acceptable to a reasonable person. Okay, so another case here would be so in the Philippines there is a privacy commission. It's called NPC. Okay, and it's handling all the privacy cases in the country. Now here, um, in August 2021, it so the commission ordered the takedown of four online lending apps. Why? They are asking a lot of personal information, even if it's not part of um, it's not part of the the, the KYC or know your customer procedures, and they are using this information to harass their customers. If they haven't paid yet, then they will um, they will send threats to um, relatives, or will humiliate the customer to their friends or peers or relatives. So, yep. Yeah. The second one would be public disclosure of embarrassing facts. Now here, okay, an individual, let's read, publicly discloses truthful private information that is not in general public's interest, and the matter made public must be one which would be offensive and objectionable to a reasonable man of ordinary sensibilities. What does it mean? Even if it's true, okay? Even if there is consent, if it's private, but it's not in general public's interest, and that information may be offensive to the data subject, or to even to the people surrounding it, then you should not attempt to view or to read, to see it. That is considered invasion of privacy. Okay. Now the case here, as an example, would be the leaked private photos and videos in the cloud storage, right? So again, it's not in the general public's interest. Private is true, it may be true. Okay. So and in a lot of my previous lectures about this, uh, people would use the reverse Uno card here, huh? Saying that why not, why did you take the video in the first place? But that's not the point, right? In 2023, there's a term called victim blaming here, right? So why would you blame the victim if you share the videos, the private photos, if it's not meant for you? Or even if it was consented, if it's not in the general public's interest and it might offend the person, her family, relatives and friends, etc. Don't do it. So it happened in 2019, wherein there was a um, massive spread of this private photos and videos, and they stored it in a Google Drive for people to feast on. Okay. So there. The third one would be the publicity in the false light in the public eye. It says that any false comments or opinions that are misleading and that cause a bad reputation or false light would be considered invasion of privacy. So the case here is a model with altered photo of children went viral. So yeah, this is actually a reminder also for us when we share memes or photos of random people, and for memes, no? Because we might just use it for humor, laugh about it, but at the expense of these people, no? So in this particular case, there's a meme that went viral wherein it says plastic surgery, you can't hide it forever, which later on uh, it was found out that photo the photos of the children were altered, to make it look funny. But the lady in the picture, after this incident, had a hard time looking for another job because of this incident, because she went viral, and people made fun of her. So that's another case, no? So we have to be responsible and discerning about whether we should share this or not, and whether it may or may not may harm the person involved. And the last is appropriation of name of likeness for advantage. And this is also prevalent now when some startups or some um, some companies that are not yet known will use a photo of a celebrity and claim that this person is endorsing this product and so on. So that's invasion of privacy. Now, if anyone uses the name or likeness for benefit without consent, that's invasion of privacy. So the key insights here. So we have an individual responsibility to safeguard personal information. We know that. So we have to practice it within our circle. Mm. Know what our responsibilities are and do it. Okay, think twice or thrice before taking a photo or video and posting it. Okay, again, do I need it? Right? Do we have to? What would be the ramifications if I share it? If I post it, what if it's fake? And so we have to double check. The third is it doesn't mean that you can view it because something is available. It's always, do I need to view it? And that would save um, a lot of people's reputations when we ask this question and think through it before viewing something, sharing something, right? And we have our influences to our contacts, to our peers, to our networks. So one click, one share will have a big difference. And in the local data privacy law, there are rights of the data subject, as defined in the RA 10173, or the data privacy law. And what are these? Okay, let's go to each one. The right to inform, the right to object, the right to access, right to rectify, right to erase or blocking, right to damages, right to data portability, and the right to file a complaint. So we have this now. And each organization in the Philippines must have an appointed data protection officer that will ensure that all of these rights are um, followed. No? All right. Let's now go to the second one, keeping it private on the process. Let's go now to the process. We're done with the people. Okay. So let's see some of the cases. The first one is the DFA passport tracking data leak. So in 2021, okay, the portal for tracking the passports by the Department of Foreign Affairs was breached, and some personal information um, leaked. And again, the common pitfall here is that when a breach happens, organizations would try to downplay the impact of this incident instead of acknowledging it and you know trying its best to identify the scope. So, like for example, if you just say it's just a password tracking numbers, but with the name, but with the address, but with this and that, so it's a breach. It's a breach. Another case here is the um, files in the Solicitor General of the Philippines um, were breached also, okay, exposing 345,000 sensitive documents. And so the Solgen is the government's lawyer handling different cases, mostly affecting the government. No? So these are high profile cases. Imagine if you have this number of cases or a number of files that were stolen, and it's a security company that reported it to them that they have found this in the dark web. And the third one is the Jollibee data breach. No, happened in 2018, right? So there was a breach that happened then, a breach that included the delivery app of the fast food chain. Now we're saying these cases because this this affect a lot of people. This affect a group of people or even the entire nation. Now, what are the issues? Okay. In the first part, the people, we are reminding people to do their part to secure themselves, to ensure that the privacy measures are there. But what if the person, the data subject, has exhausted all the means to protect his or her personal data? That's the issue. So if you would see in the past three cases that I've shared, all of these were caused by uh, probably negligence or incompetence or lack of awareness and so on of the organization, not the user. No? Now, the weight of the data protection responsibility falls on the data controller and processor. Who controls? Who collects the data? And the third is organizations must ensure that they are following the best practices. So we cannot stop all the attacks. There might be um, very sophisticated and high-tech attacks, but we need to be able to ensure that as of this moment we're doing our best. And how do we do our best? By doing the by following the best practices in security and privacy. Now, one of the important mantras in data privacy is do not collect what you cannot protect. It's always limit the information that you are getting, right? To ensure that if ever there's a breach, it's limited, right? If possible, limit what you collect, limit it to regular personal information, no sensitive personal information, right? So we try to layer it also. No? Now one of the things that or one of the problems observed in government offices would be the term collectivitis or over collection of information. So this is an actual form that I used um, when I was applying for a home loan, and it was asking for this information: bank account, credit card information, credit card type, credit card expiry, and all of these things, and you have to write it down in a piece of paper and submit it to them, right? Which I think is over collection. Um, I did not actually did not write any of those, but I still got the loan, right? Now let's go to the general data privacy principles about this. So when you collect information, right, you have to observe this data privacy principle. So the first is transparency. In transparency, it says that we have to be you have to be um, explicit. You have to inform the data subject about why you're collecting the information from them. And so you have to be, they must be aware of the nature, purpose, and extent of processing. Are you going to share it to a third party? Are you going to? So you have to be transparent about it. The second is legitimate purpose. Legitimate purpose means the that the processing of information shall be compatible with a declared and specified purpose. Is it legitimate? Okay. So it means to say that it's not enough that you get the consent of the person, right? Because if there is no legitimate purpose, then you're basically violating this principle. Okay? It has to be used somewhere. It cannot be, you cannot say that I will use it in the future. No, there has to be a legitimate purpose. And the third one is proportionality. So it says that the information that you're going to collect shall be, or process shall be, adequate, relevant, suitable, necessary, and not excessive. So you have to weigh in. Like for example, mm, attendance forms. Just to get the attendance of the participants, are you going to collect the email address? Probably it's an attendance form. The name, yes. How about the blood type? How about the religion? How about political affiliation and so on? That's not proportional to the transaction. So you should not collect those information, right? Now, for what we do um, as a consulting practice, we do privacy impact assessment or PIA. So we ask departments to list down all the activities in the organization um, that process personal information. Do you need to collect it? So we challenge them. Do you need to collect the information? And what, where, when, and how do you collect the information? And the process owner should be able to answer the questions. Okay. And then the last would be they need to conduct the PIA periodically and audit it. Okay. And then we use a data inventory similar to this and check whether they are collecting this information or not. Right? So, and observe the data life cycle. So, we have create, store, access, use, share, archive, and then destroy. And we need to have policy, data privacy policies that will define this. And then the next would be the crimes, data privacy crimes. So it's also important to emphasize the penalties for that. So it's both imprisonment and fine, coming from you know um, unauthorized processing, providing access due to negligence, improper disposal, etc., etc. So there is a corresponding penalty for that. Okay. So what are the key insights? So for the key insights, we need to be able to check the reputation of the organization or application. We need to read the privacy policy and see whether the general data principles are in place, are defined, and they are aware of it. Limit the data that you share based on need to know, and you can assert your rights and keep in touch, contact, communicate with the data protection officer, the DPO. Okay, organizations must be proactive and not reactive. And lastly, most important of all, it would be the organizations must do their due diligence always. They have to do their part and they have to follow best practices. And last is technology. So keeping it private technology. Why is it important? Because cyber crimes utilize technology. That's why we also need to use technologies to secure our infrastructure and combat cyber crimes. Um, we have different cybercrime types. So we have computer assisted crime, computer targeted crime, and computer incidental crime. So when we say computer assisted crime, it's a crime where the computer is a central component or is the it's used to commit the crime. No? Okay. The second is computer targeted crime, where the target of the attack is a computer. And the third is computer incidental crime, where computer just happened to be involved in some secondary manner, but the involvement is significant. Like, for example, pictures of child pornography in the PC. So we specify it as child pornography because in some countries pornography is legal, but child pornography will never be legal. Right? So computer incidental crime. Now going to different tools, no? So the thing is we need to be able to outline the data lifecycle from collection, use transmission, storage, deletion, and determine the types of safeguards that should be in place. Um, Identifier, what is your identification authentication mechanisms? Where is it processed? How is it transported? How is it stored or where is it stored? And is the data removed when no longer needed? Okay. For instance, for data collection, okay, these are the things that you can use. No? Use a complex password, enable MFA if possible, okay, and then review your privacy settings. Yeah. So these are some of the things that you can do, no? Um, to enable your um, privacy in your accounts. Do your privacy checkup. Use a password manager and enable your MFA. Data use, no? Is it stored in the cloud or some on-premise server? Do they share the data to third parties? So you have to read the cookie policy. Okay, is the data masked or encrypted? Okay. Opt out if necessary. And it's a common misconception relating cookies to some spyware. Cookies by default are very important for you to communicate with the application because it stores some information to associate your account, to the application, to the transaction that you're going to make. No? Although cookies can be abused, that's why it's important to read the cookie policies and check the cookie settings and choose which one you need and you can discard. No? Data transmission is the data encrypted when it is transmitted from your machine to the server. So it's very hard to do this manually. So you can use a tool in available online called Qualys SSL Labs. So here you can check the quality of the certificate. So the highest would be A plus. The lowest would of course be F. It's failed. Um, and then we have data storage. Okay, are the data encrypted? When it's at rest, it's important to know that. No? Determine the level of encryption and the layer of encryption. Is there this encryption, database encryption? And check for the certifications given by reputable organizations like ISO and PCI DSS. Okay. As an example, you can check PDO and TikTok. As you see, okay. The application is PCI compliant. TikTok is ISO 27001 certified. So you know that they are following best practices. Although it doesn't mean that it's hack proof. And the next would be data deletion. So data must be deleted when no longer needed. The more data that you have, the more protection that you need. So again, you need to read the privacy policy or data retention policy. Like for example here, TikTok for business, there's a clause here on retention of data. Okay. It Now it says here that after you have terminated your use of our services, we may store your information in an aggregated and anonymized format. Would you agree with that? You have to. You can verify what information are you talking about? What aggregated information are you talking about? So they need to be able to explain to you what these information are if you are a data subject there. And you can assert your data rights to erase or block, okay, information. Okay, so let's go to the key insights. So the organizations must ensure that they are implementing acceptable security practices to ensure that they keep the data secured. And the scope of security must be clearly defined. And of course, last but not the least, data retention and deletion must also be in place and defined in the policies. Okay? Now let's go to the Philippine data privacy ecosystem. This is local for the Philippines. Of course, there are data subjects, the users, the PIC or the PIP, and the National Privacy Commission. So the PIC or the PIP would be the organizations. Um, so the personas, so the data subject is an individual whose personal or privileged information is processed. The PIC is a person or organization who controls the collection, holding, processing, or use of personal information. And the processor, the PIP, is a person or organization to whom a personal information controller may outsource or instruct the processing of personal data. Okay. Now, for our last case, so Equifax data breach, very popular. Um, um, Story. Okay, there's a data breach of 147 million US customers. Um, they are ISO certified, ISO 27001 certified um, at the time of the massive system hack. Now, what are we saying here? We are saying that we have to check whether organizations are following best practices, but even so, data breaches may still occur. So we have to be vigilant, we have to be proactive, and we have to prepare for the worst also. So when this happens, what will you do? Um, are there any other layers of protection, or apart from the best practices, what are the things that we can add on to secure the data? Okay. So to summarize, we have shared some but not all practices. Culture of security and privacy must be embedded to data controllers and users. Certification technology alone cannot provide full data protection assurance. Again, that's why we have people, process, and technology. Um, the fourth one is assert your data rights. And the last is everybody must play its part. So we need to wear our security and privacy hats and be skeptical, vigilant, zero trust, and proactive. So that's the summary. Thank you very much for listening. This is keeping it private, protecting your digital life. This is Justin Pineda. And if you have any questions, feel free to send an email or provide your comments in the comment section. Thank you.